And welcome to Hannity. Now tonight, the abusively biased mainstream media that got the election completely wrong, that is so out of touch with you, the American people, well, they're now attacking and they're trying to discredit President-elect Donald Trump's picks for very key White House posts. For example, now they're losing their minds trying to discredit Steve Bannon. Now let's keep in mind the mainstream media is now suffering what I call a massive credibility crisis. Guess what? They're the ones who wrote off, laughed at, mocked the idea of Donald Trump ever becoming president. So here's my advice to President-elect Donald Trump tonight. When it comes to the media, do not listen to those people that want you to fail. Ignore the haters. Now, these are some of the same people who, as WikiLeaks exposed, they were openly colluding with Hillary Rodham Clinton's campaign, which violates every ethical standard they are supposed to honor and uphold. We also found out that the mainstream media is really a tool of what I call the alt-radical left and what they use to advance their agenda. Now, they're just another cog in the wheel for this well-oiled Democratic machine, the Occupy movement, Black Lives Matter, all these other fringe groups. And the media was wrong at every turn about the election, every turn about this Trump movement and about the policies that a Trump administration would put in place. Now, the media is trying to force President-elect Donald Trump. They want him immediately to move to the center. You've got to listen to us now. Okay, they wanted him to fail and lose. That now he's supposed to listen to you guys? Now, he's got to ignore these people. Now, the same goes for the Washington political establishment. Well, they're going to try and push Donald Trump hard in very different directions because they don't want the real change that Donald Trump's standing for. And Donald Trump at this moment, I would say, if you'll listen to me, he's got to stick to his promises to you, the American people. Now, just like the media establishment, they said he'd never win and didn't support his campaign. The only thing I would say is this to President-elect Trump. Listen to the will of the American people, those people that went to the polls in record numbers. And it's simple. Just honor your campaign promises. Repeal and replace Obamacare, lower taxes, corporate rate 15%, repatriate multinational corporation profits at 10%. That'll bring trillions into the country. Build the wall you said you'd build. Appoint originalist justices to the Supreme Court. Fix inner cities like you promised, especially on education. Energy independence, to me, will create millions of jobs and the added bonus that we don't get the lifeblood of our economy from countries that hate us. And then, of course, there's drain the swamp, identifying what are our enemies, who they really are, using the term radical Islam, extreme vetting of refugees and immigrants. Stick to the promise. Education back to the states, that might actually help more American kids than any single thing you do. Negotiating free and fair trade. And remember, I say this election is about the forgotten men and women out of work, in poverty, on food stamps, that can't buy a house, that have found that the rungs to the ladder are gone in terms of climbing out of their situation. And by the way, one quick thing about all these protesters. This is important tonight. You know, I look at all of these people and they're crying and they're protesting all around the country. And I think of my grandparents. They came to America, all four of them from Ireland, County Cork, County Down, all four of them. They came here with the most $20 in their pocket. They worked for little money at a time where there was discrimination against Irish Catholics. There used to be signs in Boston and New York, Irish Catholic need not apply. But they came here. They weren't spoiled. They worked their 16, 18 hours a day and felt blessed that they lived in this country. My father grew up dirt poor in Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. My mother grew up in the South Bronx. She didn't have a whole lot of money either. And it was a big deal that they bought a house in Long Island on a 50 by 100 lot. I had three older sisters, one bathroom. That's basically living hell on earth. But they were proud of their accomplishments. They had built on the dream of their parents. And I stand on their shoulders today as my children now stand on mine. For all of you people whining and complaining, there's a school in New York that's offering pet therapy because the kids are so upset at the election results. Really? Pet therapy? Counseling? All of the... You people need to grow up. You need to go to work. One of the best things I did is wash dishes, cook, bus tables, wait tables, 10 bar, hang wallpaper, paint houses, frame houses, lay tile, and do real work. Maybe you people protesting, it's time to get a job. Joining us now with reaction, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. It's a true story. What Sean, do they need Sean, pet therapy?
That was a beautiful speech. And my grandfather came with $20 in his wallet, and I have the manifest.
So
and
do
he
I.
had exactly
So do
$20.
Yeah,
and I'm
same
thinking
here.
to myself, you come all the way from Italy, can't even speak the darn language.
Right.
And you have $20 in your wallet.
My grandparents spoke the language, but in a funny way.
Yeah, right.
From Ireland, right?
Yeah, in a way that got them no jobs.
Right. No. And I'm like, these spoiled brats on college campuses, these kids in elite New York schools, they're bringing in pets and counselors because they're so upset.
I have a hard time.
I can't conceive it.
I've been on a couple of planes. I went out to Los Angeles. I was in Washington, and I've talked to a few people that were anti-Trump, and they'll say, "We're so worried about him." So I was sitting with one, and I said, "Well, what are you worried about?" We're just worried about him.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you worried about? So I didn't want to give him things to worry about. I wanted to say, "Well, you're worried about, is he going to start a nuclear war?" Or, he said, "I'm just kind of worried about it." I think I talked them off the ledge.
You got him off the ledge?
I got him. I'm not sure I made him into a Trump supporter.
I had a call to my radio.
The guy's not going to commit suicide.
I had a call to my radio show, and he said, "You helped get a racist elected." I said, "Okay, tell me one racist thing he's ever said."
Now that is the.
And I played Jeopardy music, and he couldn't answer.
If there was an unfair criticism of Trump, and there were many, but if there was the most unfair, that was the single most unfair criticism of him. Known the man for 28 years, there is a single prejudicial bone in his body. He evaluates people both from the point of view of work and friendship on the merits.
Yeah. You were probably his strongest, best, toughest advocate. Now you're being considered for important jobs. The one I hear most often is Secretary of State. Have you had any conversations with him?
I have. And they're between him and me.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I can't. I can't. I wouldn't. I'd be very honored to serve. Questions, there are always a lot of questions and a lot of issues and a lot of very good people. He's got a lot of good people around him. I think he's handled himself really well since the election, since the day he got elected. And I think that he's going to put together an extraordinary administration of really, really talented people.
Do you agree with me that for him to ignore the McConnells, they didn't win this election as much as he did? His agenda, I think, brought in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Maybe it's just having addressed the Reagan Foundation on Saturday night, where we had an inaugural celebration. I was thinking what it would be like to address them if we had lost. It would have been a funeral. And I think you do what Ronald Reagan did in a very nice way. You put your flag in the ground. You laid out this is what. He's the president. They're the Congress. He's the leader of the party. He has to tell them, this is what we want, and I want you to get it for me. And they should work with him on it. And if we have to, at the edges, compromise certain things, we should be willing to talk a little. But the main program has got to happen. The main program has got to happen. What did Ronald Reagan say? Ronald Reagan said, I'm going to confront the Soviet Union. Well, God darn it, he confronted this. I'm going to cut taxes. And then he had to make a choice because he said he was going to reduce the deficit. And there was, I just saw a tape of it, and he said, I made that choice. The choice I made was strong national defense instead of the deficit, because I think that's more important for our future.
Let me ask you this. We go back, our friendship goes back a long ways when you were the mayor of the city, cleaning up the city, and you did a phenomenal job. I watched it up close and personal. If you become Secretary of State, some people say, well, he's the mayor of New York, but how many countries have you been to?
I don't think they realized. I left the country 4 times as mayor. So I was kind of like trip deprived.
Right.
So since I left mayor, this is a rough estimate, I've been in 80 countries, 150 different foreign trips.
Wow.
And a lot of it for different reasons. Speeches, security consulting, where I helped bring down crime.
A lot of people saw your expertise.
So I brought down crime. Call the president of Colombia. He will tell you I reduced crime. My group did, not me, John Houvain and my entire group. We reduced crime in Cali by 42%.
Wow.
We reduced crime in Mexico City until the mayor of Mexico City got fired because he was doing too good a job. But that was 12 years ago.
Right.
So I've been all over the world.
I know you're very close friends in Israel.
Honorary knighthood.
Yeah, I heard about that.
From Great Britain.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has been my personal friend for 25 years. I never go to Israel without spending 2 hours with Bibi, and I feel I can call him that. And I know the world. I mean, I've been most of my last 15 years. I've been on an airplane.
But you know what I think the world would remember more than anything else? When you were given $10 million and you found out what the person had said about Israel, and you said, take your money back.
Also about the United States.
That was a big moment.
He blamed it on the U.S. foreign policy and
Israel.
Our support of Israel.
Yeah.
And I said,
take your money back.
No, and I called up 5 widows before I did it.
Good for you.
So it wasn't my money. And they told me, we're with you. We don't want the blood money. We don't want the blood money.
Good luck. I expect an announcement probably soon. We'll see. And I know you will serve your country well. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
It's a great honor both to serve my country and it was a great honor to serve Donald Trump and get him elected, because we saved this country from going over the abyss.
Well, we're pretty close now. It's a big job. All right, good to see you, Mr. Mayor. And coming up, reports say that Laura Ingraham is in the running to be the next White House press secretary. She'll be here with reaction, and also later tonight.
A Trump administration will end this nightmare of violence. We will protect American lives. We will cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities.
President-elect Donald Trump campaigning on ending sanctuary cities, but the alt-radical left mayors like Rahm, Rambo, Deadfish, Emanuel say, well, they'll fight him in order to protect illegal immigrants in their cities. We'll check in also tonight with Brexit leader Nigel Farage, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, and our own Ainsley Earhart is here. She's been with us for 10 years on this program with a huge announcement. Straight ahead.
In terms of staffing the cabinet, he certainly is taking the counsel of many people. Each of the positions have several different contenders at the very least that he is vetting and talking about very seriously. I think for Donald Trump, the criteria are very simple. Yes, there are people who are loyal, but not just to him, to his vision, his 100-day plan.
All right, that was Trump's senior advisor, Kellyanne Conway, earlier today talking about staffing the new incoming Trump administration. Now, today, President-elect Trump, he met with Vice President-elect Mike Pence to talk about filling key cabinet and senior White House positions. Fox News can now confirm that Laura Ingraham's name is, in fact, being floated as a press secretary. Joining us now, editor-in-chief, Life Zet, and Fox News contributor, and nationally syndicated radio host. Listen, I think you'd be great at it. That's my honest answer. I think you'd be I would never in a million years have the patience to deal with those idiots every single day. Good luck if you take it.
On.
I would not have the patience.
Why don't you do
No,
it?
I'm on the.
Sean,
no, thank you.
Can't we do something where, like, I'll go one day, you'll go the next. I'll go one day, you'll go the next.
Maybe we can co-host from there. We'll do a show. How about this? If you do become press secretary, let me co-press secretary for a day with you. It's sort of like bring your BFF to work day, you know?
Okay, no problem. Bring my old friend to work day. I'd love that. I think the country would love it. I can tell you, Sean, the narrative is like so far ahead of where things really are. Yeah. But it's cool to be mentioned. I love what I do. You know, you and I are so privileged and blessed to be doing what we do. I just love talking to the American people every day. That's no exaggeration. It doesn't mean like every day radio is easy. It's not. But it is it's just a blessing. It's a privilege. So I love my life. I love what I do. It's nice to have your name thrown in the ring. But there are so many great people that they're considering, not just for this position, but for a lot of positions. And there are a lot of people who are my friends. And I'm like, we'll see what happens. But I like what I do right now, to tell you the truth.
You said you're honored to be under consideration. If I had to press you a little bit, and I'm not pressing you, you're a friend, I'm not going to do that. If you had to make a decision now and you were offered the opportunity, would you do it?
I mean, I'd obviously want to talk to, Steve Bannon and Kellyanne and President-elect Trump and just, talk it through. I'm not going to, negotiate on the air here, but I just want to talk it through and see exactly what what it would entail. It's different for every administration. The press secretary position in the Reagan administration, and I worked in the Reagan administration in the second term, was different from the way it is now. The communications position is interesting in a lot of ways as well. I used to be a speechwriter, so that oversees the speechwriting operation, and press is just really dealing with the press and the press messaging. So it changes, though. There are different parameters for these jobs.
I think you do a great job. And certainly your background doing what you do here and your background in talk radio. Look, most people don't realize you got to be on your feet for 3 hours a day, every day.
Yeah.
It is more difficult than I think the average person knows, but it also would be, I think, it would perfectly prepare you for that kind of task. The problem is we now learned in this election season that journalism isn't dead. It's dead and buried, and it's beyond not giving information to the American people or an informational crisis. There's outright colluding that we discovered between the media, Politico, the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC. All these media outlets were colluding with Hillary Clinton's campaign, feeding questions before debates, asking for questions from the DNC that they can ask Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina. I don't know. I'd have a very hard time being in the room with those people every day, knowing that they have that institutional bias. And there might be some good journalists in there, but very few.
I think there's a lot to be answered for in this election cycle. I think the press has to answer for getting a lot of it wrong. And without a doubt, every survey, it's not conservative surveys, but every survey on press bias indicates that an overwhelming majority of Americans believe it's slanted, and it was slanted toward Hillary. So if you're a journalist and this is your job, just like politicians have credibility problems right now. So to build back your credibility, if you're interested in doing that at all with the people who pay the bills, which are the people who buy the products that are advertised on your news programs, I think they have to give Donald Trump a fair shot. I mean, they're supposed to act as a check on the administration, too, for sure. But you have to be fair about it. And I think that's what most people are asking for. And that's what most people should expect from the press. And it's a difficult line sometimes for them to walk, Sean. But if they're going to be in that business, then do that job. If you want to be in a commentator job, then you can do kind of what we do. But if you're going to be a journalist and do it fairly. And you can be tough, but fair. And I think if people are tough but fair, I think of people like Tim Russert, David
Tim
Brinkley.
He was really special. Yeah. He's in a category of his own. And we could use more people like him in journalism. I bet he would be pretty disgusted. I knew him fairly well. You knew him well. I don't think he would like what has been discovered this election season.
Yeah, and I think of people like Brit Hume. Remember when Brit was White House correspondent over at ABC?
He was tough.
And
Sam Donaldson.
And even Tom. Right, and even Tom Brokaw, when he was on the Today Show all those years ago, he's a Democrat, he's probably fairly liberal, but he played it pretty straight. You go back and look at the old election coverage from 1980, as I do, because I'm a total, political geek. I watched the entire 1980 election coverage, and it was NBC's election coverage. It is fascinating to watch how straight they really played it.
Wow.
And just calling states, this is what's happening. And that's changed. It's a lot more commentary interjected. And I think that's to the detriment of a lot of good work that the press can do. So
listen, as
I
long
want to be optimistic.
If they would delineate what they do, don't tell us you're being a journalist and you're a talk show host like we are. Don't pretend to be something you're not. And that's what was exposed here. And the very people that are so critical of the fact that we do have opinions, but we're honest with our audience, are the very people that were bigger advocates than anybody ever really knew. I think that's where the corruption of media comes in.
And I think there are a lot of websites that will try to come off as news organizations when they're not. They're platforms for more commentary and analysis. That's fine if that's what you are, but just don't pretend that you're the modern day reporter, reporter on the beat, and you're just trying to get at the truth. When what you're trying to do is you're trying to confirm your predisposed opinion to think that, whether it's Trump's terrible or Steve Bannon's this or Kellyanne's that. It's just transparent. And I think what we learned from this election more than anything, Sean, is that the American people are on to all of this, and they want better from all of us. And it's up to all of us, I think, and whether you're in government or in journalism or even doing what we do it as best as you can and try to be straight about it.
All right. Well, good luck, and whatever your decision is, I know you'll do a good job. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks.
And coming up next tonight on This Busy Hannity.
A Trump administration will end this nightmare of violence. We'll protect American lives. We will cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities.
Donald Trump promising you, the American people, he will end sanctuary cities in this country. But you got mayors from some of America's most liberal cities like Chicago and Rambo Deadfish. Well, they say they'll stand in his way. Can they do that? We'll explain. Also tonight, Brexit leader Nigel Farage, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, and our own Ainsley Earhart here with a very big, important announcement. Straight ahead.
Sanctuary cities really fast, I can tell you that. Sanctuary cities. The nice part is you don't have to worry too much about sanctuary cities in Spencer, but it is, you ever see anything? It's almost like a free zone. You kill people and you're fine because you're in a sanctuary. It is so insane what's happening to our country. A Trump administration will end this nightmare of violence. We will protect American lives. We will cancel all federal funding to sanctuary cities.
That was Donald Trump promising on the campaign trail to end sanctuary cities if elected. Now, President-elect Trump hasn't been sworn in yet, but already some on the left are very worried he'll actually keep his promise. How refreshing would that be? Anyway, cities that openly acknowledge they will not comply with federal immigration laws are now vowing to keep doing that which they've been doing illegally, including Chicago Mayor Rambo Deadfish Emanuel. Take a look at what he had to say.
Chicago has in the past been a sanctuary city, took that executive order and made it an ordinance. To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city. To all those who are, after Tuesday's election, very nervous, is filled with anxiety has been spoken to, you are safe in Chicago. You are secure in Chicago, and you are supported in Chicago.
Joining us now with reaction, Salem Radio nationally syndicated talk show host Larry Elder, Vice President, spokesperson for the National Border Patrol Council, Sean Moran. Larry, let me ask you to put on your legal hat for a minute. Some people may not know you are a lawyer in a former life, in spite of all these years of media. This, to me, why do I believe if I break the law or I pledge to break the law the way Deadfish and Comrade de Blasio, the mayor of New York, and others are pledging, why would I think I'd go to jail if I violated the law?
Well, you probably would, Sean, but you knew this was coming. You remember when the House passed the so-called harsh immigration bill? The then mayors of L.A., Chicago, and New York all said they were going to defy the law. So there's going to be a day of reckoning, and the way that Donald Trump will have leverage, of course, is to try to withhold federal funding. I live in L.A. The former police chief signed something called Special Order 40 in 1979, and I interviewed him about that, and he told me that it was designed to do two things. One was to make sure that cops did not target people for immigration violations. And the second is, if you are an illegal alien and you're the victim of a crime, you shouldn't be afraid of coming forward and telling about that for fear of being deported. That's it. But that law, that order has been interpreted to mean don't cooperate with the federal officials. You have a violent criminal under arrest, and they're not being turned over to the Fed, sometimes even when there's a request to do so. So the whole Special Order 40 has been completely corrupted away from its original intention.
Yeah. What is your take on that, Mr. Moran?
I agree with Mr. Elder. This is a horrible law. I understand it from the mayors because they're political hacks, but these chiefs of police that are enforcing this law, they're not worth the metal that their badge is made out of. They took an oath to uphold the laws of the United States, not the laws of Chicago, not the laws of San Francisco, the laws of the United States. Our view is that this is sanctuary cities are an illegal order if they've enacted it into an ordinance like Chicago.
So I know they can take funding back, but if you set out to violate the law of the land, is there any legal consequences for them for this, Larry?
Well, you know, when you're in the country illegally, you have already committed a crime.
I'm talking about the mayors. These people say, no, come to our cities. We don't enforce the law here. Well, first of all, wouldn't federal agents have the right to go in there and enforce the law that the mayor says he's not going to enforce?
This is going to be full employment for lawyers, Sean. Believe me, there are going to be lawsuits filing all over the place. I think you're right. I think you can mandate that these mayors follow the law. They've not abided by direct court orders in some cases, detainer orders issued by ICE to hold people. That's why we've had these illegal alien murders we've had up in the Bay Area. And I believe that legally they can be compelled to do so. But the hammer has to be withholding federal funds. That's one thing that they do understand.
And Rahm gets off just saying, violate the law, come to my city. He gets off doing that.
Right. And I remember the mayor of L.A. once said there are no illegal people here. The point is, Sean, Democrats want porous borders for votes. They know that's where their political power is. They know that ultimately there'll be pressure for there to be a so-called pathway to citizenship, and 90% of them are going to vote for the Democratic Party. That's why they want to do this.
Guys, good to see you. Coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
All vetting of people coming into our country will be considered extreme vetting. We will be very careful.
Very important issue. For months, Donald Trump called for extreme vetting of refugees, and for good reason. Officials warn that ISIS will try and infiltrate the refugee population. And today, Germany just announced a major operation to combat radical Islam as they took in so many different refugees. Brexit leader Nigel Farage and Dr. Sebastian Gorka are here. Then later tonight, Fox and Friends co-host Ainsley Earhart is here to talk about her brand new book and much more. And her father joins us straight ahead.
We're going to suspend immigration from terror-prone regions where vetting cannot safely occur. Radical Islamic terror is right around the corner. We have to be so tough, so smart, so vigilant. We can't allow that to happen. We have enough problems. All vetting of people coming into our country will be considered extreme vetting. We will be very careful.
Now, that was President-elect Donald Trump promising extreme vetting to keep you, the American people, safe. Now, there's good reason to worry. Now, police in Germany, they stage anti-terror raids in 60 cities targeting an ultra-conservative Islamic missionary group, which is accused of trying to recruit for ISIS. Now, Germany may also have another problem on their hands. From January to June of this year, over 370,000 asylum seekers were registered in that country. U.S. officials have been warning that ISIS will try and infiltrate the refugee population here. Joining us with reaction, the leader of the Brexit movement, and also, as you see him here, he met with President-elect Donald Trump over the weekend, Nigel Farage, and the author of Defeating Jihad, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, who I would argue is a good candidate for a Trump administration. Nigel, I want to talk about this through this prism, the Islamization of Europe and what happened in Germany, because we have James Comey, we have Michael Steinbeck, the assistant FBI director, our CIA director Brennan, our House Homeland Security Committee chair McCall, and then the former special envoy to defeat ISIS, all have said that ISIS will infiltrate the refugee population. How dangerous has it been for Europe, and what can we learn from you?
Well, it's been disastrous. And, of course, Angela Merkel took the very opposite policy position to the one that President-elect Trump is taking. She said, if you remember last year, please all come. We can take as many people as you can send. And what have we seen? Not just a rise of radical groups, the likes of which the German police are trying their best to hunt down today, but also we saw those scenes, remember, on New Year's Eve at Cologne train station. The mass, open, sexual violation of women going on in a Western German city. Now, I'm not saying that because I want to demonize anybody, but I am saying this. What's happened from many of these Middle Eastern countries is the spread of ISIS. I feel that we ourselves may be partly responsible for causing it by toppling Saddam, by getting rid of Gaddafi, but whatever, the fact is it's there. And remember that in these countries, women are at very best second-class citizens. So at best, we're bringing in a problem, a cultural problem, that is going to be very difficult to assimilate and maintain our values. And at worst, we're bringing in people who actually want to kill us.
And that's what our top intelligence and security officials have been warning. Dr. Gorka, good to see you again, and it'd be great to see you in the Trump administration.
Thank you.
But look, Donald Trump supports safe zones, victims of a civil war, food, medicine, clothing, supplies, safety, baby formula, whatever's needed, cots. There is this clash of cultures, though, that Nigel Farage is talking about, and that is if you grow up and you believe you can tell women what to wear and they can't drive and go to school without a man's permission, and gays and lesbians can be killed, and marital rape in some of these countries is legal, and the persecution of Christians and Jews are institutionalized, how do you bring people in from countries that believe that, have been born into that, that is their culture, and expect them to just become Americans, to, in other words, to assimilate immediately? It's a stretch to me.
So, Sean, let's start with the fact that we are a Christian nation. We are a Judeo-Christian nation. So we help people when we can help them. But that is not a contract for national suicide. That doesn't mean, as Hillary Clinton said in her private speech to the bankers, we don't need any borders. Pull down the borders.
The whole Western Hemisphere.
Whole Western Hemisphere, one big happy party. It doesn't mean that you quintuple the number of refugees. If she had won, what Nigel's talking about, Europe is what America would have been like in 5 years' time if Hillary had become the president.
Probably 100%. Nigel, did you see that coming in America? I know you love America. You're one of our closest allies throughout history. Unfortunately, I would argue under Obama, those relations have become strained. But did you see that for America? Was that one of the reasons you were so vocal for Donald Trump?
Yes, it was. I mean, the big picture is I believe in nation-state democracy. I believe that the people should be in charge of the decisions that affect their lives. What I saw with my country, with the European Union, was increasingly those decisions being taken somewhere else, and crucially, borders being completely removed. And I could see that Clinton basically viewed that building you can see behind me, the European Union's headquarters, she viewed it as a prototype for something she wanted America to be part of. And that is why I went so strong for Trump. Also, I backed Trump because I thought the man had guts and integrity, and boy, he has.
Yeah, you have been talking to the Trump administration. You would accept a role in national security?
I think every American, if offered one, it would be their duty. This man is going to make America great again, and he's going to provide leadership in the world.
But you wrote a book. It was a bestseller, Defeating ISIS. We can defeat them.
Absolutely, but only if America leads in the world. Remember, this administration, the Obama administration, made it part of the U.S. national security policy to lead from behind. Now look those words up in a Webster's dictionary. Leading from behind means following.
Yeah,
we haven't led. We haven't led.
Nigel, what was your discussion with Donald Trump on Saturday like? What did you all talk about? And you did tell me one story I hope you'll share about Winston Churchill.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump and I have been the two most vilified people in the Western world over the course of the last couple of years, because we.
I think that's all true. By the way,
three of you, right?
By the way, I'm not far behind you. I'm pretty close up there in some people's eyes.
I tell you what, Sean, you're in the running, mate. Don't worry about that. No, I mean, this is the extraordinary thing. Is that the liberal elite, the establishment, those that have had it all their own way for the last couple of decades, brand us as being extremists, brand us as being racist. All we're saying is we believe in democracy. And I think after Brexit and now Trump winning, and I was talking to him on Saturday, I now hope it's going to spread like an infectious disease across the whole of the Western world. I found the president-elect to be reflective, thoughtful, full of great ideas, and I tell you what, and I was very honoured to be given that time with him, but I really, genuinely believe he's got the makings of being a great president.
Guys, good to see you both. I hope things work out. I'd love to see you get that position.
Thank you, Sean.
Nigel, good to see you. Thank you. And coming up, Fox and Friends co-host Ainsley Earhardt. She's been with this program for 10 years. She is here to talk about a brand new book, which is now #2 on Amazon of all books. We'll explain that and more tonight on Hannity. Hey, welcome back to Hannity. My next guest has been on this show working with us for over 10 years. Now she will barely talk to us because she got a big promotion. She's the co-host of the #1 rated cable morning show, of course, Fox and Friends, and the author of an incredible brand new children's book. It's called Take Heart, My Child, A Mother's Dream. Our own Ainsley Earhardt. And with her, also, her father, Wayne. How are you, Mr. Earhardt?
Doing fine.
It's nice to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Are you proud of her?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I was watching you this morning. You had your your baby girl with you on the set.
I did.
That was really cute, and you were
Thank
on
you.
the show with her. All right, let me see the book for one thing.
Okay.
At the back of this book, she talks about you. So I'm going to start with this. You really love your dad. I heard you talking to him earlier. Yes, sir. You tell your kids, right? Yes, sir. No, sir.
You know, my
yes,
wife probably and myself trying to made sure that happened in our house.
Well, we're from the South. Everyone says yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You have to.
Well, first of all, this is an amazing thing. Now, all day you've been the #2 best-selling book in the country.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, you're
the illustrations. I want to show everybody. The illustrations are amazing. Also, look at this. Look how beautiful that is. That's only one part.
Thank you.
I drew all the pictures myself. I'm the co-author of the book. But you got and it's such a great book, Take Heart, My Child. It's about every mother's dream if they're about to have a baby.
Right. So I wrote the book when I was pregnant with my little girl. We didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl.
Right.
So I met with Simon & Schuster and all the ladies with Aladdin, which is the imprint that I'm with. And they are amazing. I knew nothing about writing a book. And you're the master at this, Sean. You've done, how many bestsellers have you had? His books are bestsellers
I'm never writing
3
another
weeks
one.
before they even come out.
Three.
So
Okay.
I had no clue what I was doing. I met with the ladies, and they were amazing. And my agents at CAA, amazing as well. They hooked me up with the ladies over at Simon & Schuster. So we sat down, and they said, tell me a little bit about your life. And I said, well, when I was a little girl, there's my little baby. That's Hayden. She's a year old now. So when I was a little girl, even like this age, Hayden's age, my dad left little notes and little sayings and little scriptures next to our cereal bowls when we were going to school. My mother, amazing lady, had to go to work early because she was a school teacher. So Dad was in charge of breakfast for us. So he would leave little notes. And I was telling the ladies this. They said, do you have any of these notes?
I bet he didn't make the healthy stuff that you eat now. You're really into healthy food, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
Let me guess. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage.
That's about right.
And French
He
toast.
made Mickey Mouse pancakes.
Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
pancakes?
Mickey Mouse
I never did that. Really?
That's what every dad does. And every kid loves it when their mom goes out of town because they order pizza
Please
at
tell
night.
me you
or they
gave him
make-
real maple syrup because I have to have real maple syrup.
Oh, yeah, had to get that sugar content up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, where did you get with the idea of leaving the notes? That's awesome.
You know, Sean, I was being an OX coach, and coach is not real smart sometimes. So
That's not true. Dad's very smart. He has his master's, straight A student.
No,
Put
no.
himself through college, is the hardest worker I've ever met. And sorry to interrupt, Dad, but he was a college basketball coach at Wofford College for 10 years in South
By the way,
Carolina.
I'm showing,
And
look how beautiful these
beat
pictures
Georgia
are.
Tech.
Pretty.
Dad beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
Thank
best
you.
illustrated book I've ever seen. But, I want to get to the purple one. This is so awesome. Look at this. That is so beautiful.
Thank you,
That's so
Sean.
well done.
You're
And the
sweet.
content, it's really out of a biblical scripture, too, right?
It is. It is. Dad, you want to explain?
But anyway, the quotations, Sean, Dean Smith was a guy I admired so much, the coach at North Carolina. And a lot of times I'd go to his coaching clinics and practices, and he always came out with a practice schedule which had emphasis of the day, which would be something containing a basketball he wanted his players to do, and if they didn't do it, they were penalized in practice. But he also had a quote of the day with some kind of life lesson. So that's kind of where I started writing down quotations that I liked, and then decided to.
And you saved all these, Ainsley, right?
I did.
You
did.
saved them all?
I
Wow.
saved a lot of them in here. Never be afraid to. I hope I'll never be afraid to fail, which was Walt Disney's line. Dad said. Abe Lincoln. I lost a lot of student elections, like in 2nd grade and 5th grade. I ran for class president and secretary all the way through.
Well,
and Dad always said Abraham Lincoln lost 17 times before he finally won.
it's a
I've
great
done the
story.
research
I don't know
though. We don't really know if that's true now.
The best. No, he failed a lot.
He failed a lot,
in
yeah.
of his
I don't know
life,
how
and
many.
suffered a lot in his
Right.
life. All right. The book is amazing. If you have a child or a grandchild in your life, this is a book. Now's the perfect time to buy it with Christmas and
you.
the holidays coming up,
Thank you.
Thanksgiving coming up.
And if they go to your
And by the
website-
way, Hannity.com or Amazon.com, you can get a signed copy at my
If you go to
website.
Hannity.com
and you get 10% charity too.
To Folds of Honor, because Dad
that's
taught
awesome.
me 10%. You give 10% away of what
That's
you
awesome.
make. So.
All right, well, congratulations. And
Thank you.
you've been a big help on this show for 10 years and over
been
10 years.
my-
We're
it
so
has
happy of
been-
yours. Seriously, we're very happy all that has happened and well deserved.
It's been my
you, John.
pleasure.
Sir, nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate
Look forward to
being
seeing you
with us.
again.
Thank you. All right, and coming up, we need your help. A very important question of the day, straight ahead. And welcome back to Hannity, and it's time for our question of the day. So do you think the left, the wacky left, the mainstream media, do you think they're trying to push President-elect Trump to the middle? My advice to Mr. Trump, don't do it. They didn't like you then. They won't like you now, whatever you do. But anyway, we want to hear from you. Go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. That's all the time we have left this evening. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here. Hopefully, hope you're here tomorrow night.
The Arrive Factor's on.